and Tangela too, and our host, Vincent Van Dahl, and he brings it to ya! Creature features, and all creatures, and all creatures! And the creature gonna get you tonight. You better not turn out your bedroom light. He'll grab your head and give it such a bite. You may even die, just from a fright. You ain't nothing gonna be, baby. You ain't nothing gonna be alright. 'Cause the creature gonna get you, baby. Gonna get you tonight.
Let's chat about the year 1933, shall we? Because many extraordinary events occurred during that year, including the fact that it was the worst year of the Great Depression. Construction of the Golden Gate Bridge commenced. There was a horrible drought that created the Dust Bowl in the Midwest. A bloke named Adolf was appointed Chancellor of Germany.
Don't look at me, I wasn't even born yet.
The first drive-in movie theater opened in Camden, New Jersey. Prohibition was repealed in the United States, and a 1 hour and 5-minute film starring Lionel Atwill and Fay Wray titled The Vampire Bat was released and may have very well played at the Park Inn Theater in Camden that same year. Welcome to Creature Features. I'm your host, Vincent. The lovely little lass loitering to my left side would be the brilliantly baffling and most beautiful bantling Tangela. And hailing from Germany, though having nothing at all to do with the appointment of the aforementioned Chancellor, is my loyal and lugubrious land manager, the laudable Mr. Livingston. And we have a most splendid program in store for you. Firstly, as mentioned prior, we shall present The Vampire Bat from 1933. It's a wonderful classic horror film, which we've shown a time or two before. Tangela informs me that we've only shown this film once prior for episode 97 on October 27th, 2018. She also adds that this particular day in October was mild in temperature, only partly cloudy, and the number one hit in the US at the time was Girls Like You by Maroon 5 and Cardi B. My goodness, Tangela, I know most women have excellent memory skills, but your ability to pull forth these random facts on cue is particularly curious. Perhaps you can use this vast storehouse of knowledge with which you've been endowed to remember to clean up your chambers now and then.
Here, here.
Guest-wise, we'll be joined again by the wonderful author and historian David Skal. He knows everything about classic horror films and maybe even more.
He certainly knows a good deal more than you.
Oh, do stop being so butthurt, Livingston. You not only made that quip about your home country purely in jest. David will tell us everything we need to know about tonight's film, bring us up to date about his other projects and public appearances, and give us his opinion on more contemporary films. So don't go away, for it is to be another night of vampire fright, right here on Creature Features.
He's right, you know.
Stay tuned.
Portions of Creature Features are brought to you by the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. Explore the mystery at winchestermysteryhouse.com.
Welcome to Creature Features Saturday night. It's a fun night to be watching Creature Features because it's the only night we're on. That's not true anymore, though. We're on Fridays as well now.
Yes, I've noticed.
Friday nights, Saturday nights. You know, it's
streaming anytime.
It's a testimony to my lack of a social life. No, it is. I mean, what kind of bloke stays home on a Friday and Saturday night? I bet you, David Skal, go out and party on Friday night.
Well, not since I discovered Creature Features.
There you go.
Ever since last year when I appeared here for the first time, I've just fallen in love with the show.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
I missed a lot of this. I'm supposed to be a big, horror film historian.
Right.
Well, in the early 70s, when they did all of these made-for-TV horror movies
Right.
that you specialize in,
We love them.
I was going to college in a town that had no television signal.
How sad.
It was really weird. There was
But
no.
I bet you
there
were a
was-
wonderful student because of that.
I
fact.
was. I ended up on the
Right.
dean's list.
Right.
But I didn't have TV. There was no cable. There was no home video. There was no streaming. There was no
Right.
nothing.
So you
I
missed that
missed,
entire decade.
half a decade.
Right.
And so I'm discovering these things for the first time.
How
and
fun.
And you guys have really nailed the kind of horror hosting I grew up with.
Well, thank
And
you. Thank you. By the way, introduction, David Skal. He is a scholar on horror, right?
Some say yes.
Author. And you're like the smartest person we know about these original classic films. No, all we've got is Tom, and he's smart, but he hasn't watched all the films you have or not studied them like you have.
Well, I have been pretty obsessive about this. I never thought it was going to become a all-consuming preoccupation of my life.
You're like the Wikipedia of horror films.
Well, people ask me why I write these books, and it was because I grew up as a monster kid in the 1960s
Right.
with all of the magazines and the model kits and the original horror hosts, and then I grew up, and somebody asked me if I wanted to write a book about horror movies, and I said, yeah, but it's going to be difficult because I don't know the backstory of any of these things. I know what I read in the magazines and this and that, but by that time I had a whole career in the theater, and I knew something about the performing arts, and there's always a backstory, and there are always personalities.
Of course.
Very big personalities, and well, you have some around here. So there's always something that hasn't been told.
Right.
And I was lucky enough to start this when a lot of the people from those films in the 20s and 30s were still alive. They were, in their 80s and 90s. And I got to meet some of them and, kind of coax out
You're so
some
lucky.
juicy stories.
No, yeah, we've had a few, only a very few that are still around, and to meet like some of the big ones like you mentioned.
Well, I met, let's see, and I didn't meet Dwight Fry because he died 10 years before I was born, but I did know his son, Dwight Jr.,
Right.
who was both his father and mother were from the New York theater. And like so much talent, when the talkies came in, there was this migration to Hollywood.
Right.
And Dwight Fry was part of that. Bela Lugosi was part of that. He had a hit in Dracula on the stage in New York.
Right.
And then, but there were so many because actors were trained to use their voices. And a lot of directors came from the stage because the directors in Hollywood didn't know
Right.
how to handle actors speaking. The director
Because it was
did the
such a
talking.
new thing at the time.
The director did the talking, giving
goodness, right.
instructions, and sometimes they would have a musician on the set and to create a mood. But it was a whole new kind of filmmaking, and these horror movies were part of it. And Universal was, first in line. And the other studios wanted to imitate it. In fact, they wanted to shoot their own cheap horror films on the Universal lot. And the studios have always, rented out their spaces. So
This film we're showing tonight, The Vampire Bat, does
It
that
w-
fall into the cheap stage?
it was cheap. It looks much better than its budget because
Right.
they shot it on the sets. There were sets from Frankenstein in here, the whole European village,
Right.
from the Old Dark House,
Right.
another James Whale film.
Right.
And 15 minutes into the film, and there are props too. Somebody finally just pointed this out to me, and I don't know why I never saw it, but 15 minutes in there's a scene in a morgue where they're looking at a woman's dead body. But if you look over to the side, on a little shelf, there is the very dragon-shaped candlestick that Bela Lugosi carried down the stairs in Dracula.
We have to watch for that.
I made a still image and Tom may be able to do something with
We'll
it.
pull it up. We'll pull it up. All right, what do you say we start the film?
Okay.
And when we come back, we'll talk about some more of the background on this one. The Vampire Bat from 1933. Stick around. You guys, you don't want to miss this film. It's a good one. See you soon.
But how else can we explain these terrible deaths? Von Else last night, 5 others before him, that's 6 within as many weeks, Inspector. Our friends, neighbors that we'd known for years, drained of their life's blood, found dead in bed, lifeless skeletons of skin and bone. Vampires are at large, I tell you, vampires.
Yeah. Malignant demons who issue forth from their graves in the dead of night to attack their victims and drink the blood from their veins.
Cotton Himmelbrecht, Schneider, don't jest.
Ah, that blood-sucking legend belongs in the same category with werewolves and all other peasant superstitions.
But the bats, man. The bats. God, yes. Big ones, so.
Oh, now we're switching to bats again.
There was an epidemic of giant bats in Kleinschloss in 1643. And at the same time, there was an outbreak of vampirism.
Rot.
Why, this record from the town archive proves it.
Says it, not proves it.
Well, I'll show you. I'll show you. Now, here it is. And on this day was von Hausmann hanged from a gibbet in the public square after being convicted on a proven charge of vampirism. And on this same day, there did occur the departure of the bats. Thousands of horrible flying creatures which infested the town for weeks. And on the night of this same day, February 13, in the year of our Lord, 1643, was there a stake driven through von Hausmann's heart and his head cut off with a grave digger's shovel. There.
Well, all the records in the world can't make me believe in vampires. There are blood-sucking bats, yes. In South America, thousands of miles from here, but not in Kleinschloss.
But bats fly. They could fly here. You saw the bodies. All of them. 2 wounds on the neck, right at the jugular vein. 2 wounds on the neck, pierced and spread apart just as if 2 fang-like teeth had bitten through the flesh and right into the veins. And in every case, a blood clot, 8 inches from the victim's neck. The mark of the feast, the devil's signature.
Does that appear the mark of a human being or a demon's?
God save us, the devil's.
You ought to make a pretty fair meal for a vampire. But let's be consistent. Are these human vampires or bats?
Vampires can take the shape of a human or a bat, just as they choose.
Oh, they're magicians. Well, it doesn't make sense to me.
The whole village is in terror. We live in closed houses, behind locked doors and bolted shutters, not daring to close our eyes, fearful lest this unseen silent death may find us in our sleep, for it is then that it strikes. Swiftly, silently, ghastly. My room is tightly closed. The windows are barred, nailed down. Nothing can get in. Nothing.
But they tell me vampires can go through stone walls like that.
God save me. So they can. We've got to do something, I tell you. Klein Schloss will become a deserted village.
Well, you might catch all the bats and drown them in the river.
Carl.
While you're hunting for vampires and chasing bats, I'm looking for a human being. A murderer, a fiend.
Well, then don't jest about it. Do something.
I'm trying to. Every hour, every day, every night since this thing started.
Do you hear it? Hear it? Yes. Night after night. Lying awake until dawn. Waiting.
For what?
I don't know.
That's what I thought. Good night, gentlemen. Don't let the vampires get you. Are your kisses dynamite?
Don't you like my kisses? Well, how's my mastermind this evening?
Well, if you want the truth, not so good.
The Burgermeister and his Grand Council still stick to the vampire theory.
Stick to it. Huh. They're quoting history to prove it. I think you and Dr. von Niemann are the only sane people left in the village.
And you? What about you?
Me? Well, I'm beginning to think I'm 7 different kinds of a fool. Murders are being done under my very nose. I must be as blind as the bats themselves. I can't find a single clue.
Oh, but you will, Carl. You will.
Well, I haven't.
Oh, Ruth!
And here comes dear Aunt Gussie to spread good cheer and hope.
Just what I thought. Slaving your life away in this awful place. It hasn't got that nice, clean, wholesome smell of a hospital. How are you, Carl?
Oh, quite well, thank you.
Well, I'm not. This clammy old place is bound to give me pericarditis, enteriditis, neuritis, well, anyway, rheumatism. You have some coffee?
No, thank you, Frau Stampern.
No, it's just as well. There's only 2 cups. Yeah, dear. That'll take the chill out of your bones.
Thank you.
Speaking of chills, Frau Schnappmann, did you know the village is supposed to be infested with ghouls and vampires?
Oh, Carl.
Vampires. Pariahs among fiends. Demoniacal creatures with huge canine teeth who bite deeply into the necks of their victims to quaff and gorge on blood. Warm human blood.
There's no such thing as a vampire, Carl Brett Snyder. I don't believe in it. You're just saying that to frighten me. And I just won't be frightened. I'm entirely too sensible to believe in such rubbish.
I beg pardon.
Oh, so it's you.
I'm sorry if I frightened you.
Who said you frightened me? I'm not afraid of anything.
This brief moment of tranquility has been brought to you by Nightscape. Relax and sleep better every single night with this and other videos from our free YouTube channel. Learn more by visiting nightscape.co today.
Welcome back. We are watching The Vampire Bat, 1933, with Mr. David Skal. He's an expert on these things. No, you're
I'm
like
told.
a ninja.
A ninja?
Right, you fight the unknowledgeable and give them knowledge. That is your power.
I'll go with that.
Right? That's
Thank you.
good. That's
Yes.
good. So this film, lots of bats, lots of vampire bats.
Lots of vampire bats, although the villagers don't believe it's the bat that's doing the blood sucking. They blame it all on kind of a simple-minded unfortunate played by Dwight Fry, who was Renfield in Dracula.
A simple-minded unfortunate. I'm going to put that into my lexicon because that's such a wonderful phrase.
You have to be careful the kind of words you use to describe people with disabilities these days.
Right,
but he is definitely, this is a kind of character who you wouldn't see in too many movies today.
I like the fact that there's villages as well.
And they're angry villagers.
I would like to live in a village where there's villages.
But not angry ones.
Not angry villagers. Who are not angry at me.
Well.
Right. That would be best. So this film, you say, was made on the Universal lot.
It was made on the Universal lot, and it was made by Majestic Pictures, which was a small independent outfit. And it capitalized on the fact that the Universal films were very, very popular by that time. Universal had really cornered the market on horror films, but Warner Brothers wanted to get into the act, and so they had done Dr. X with Lionel Atwill and Fay Wray, and it was a Technicolor, two-strip Technicolor. It was an early version of Technicolor, and so that was a gimmick that really drew them in, and it was followed by one called The Mystery of the Wax Museum, again with Atwill and Ray, and Majestic thought they would capitalize on using both the stars and its own half-hearted stab at color. In the later chase scenes where you see the where you see the villagers carrying torches as they hunt down poor Herman. Originally, the individual frames of the film were painted yellow and red, and so there were suddenly color torches going across the way, and so they had their small-scale version of the Warner Brothers color.
Now, Fay Wray, what was her appeal in all these horror films? I was she in King Kong and She, like Lionel Atwill, came to Hollywood. They both had stage backgrounds and did various things, but they found their real stride doing these thrillers, and they both became associated with the genre. Faye was the first scream queen, as we call them today. She really, truly was. And she did Dr. X, and she did The Vampire Bat, and she did The Mystery of the Wax Museum, The Most Dangerous Game, which was all about human trophy hunting, and then King Kong, which earned her a place in heaven forever. Everybody remembers it from that.
Atwill came from the West End Theater and via the New York Theater, and then he came west with the migration of talent, and he specialized in Shaw and Ibsen and classical theater, but Hollywood, because of his very deep, resonant, mellifluous voice, it made him very good for villains and very authoritarian figures, and he I wouldn't say he wasn't typecast in the same way other actors, but he usually played something that had a villainous edge to it, and very much a forerunner of the kind of parts Vincent Price would play. In fact, The Mystery of the Wax Museum was remade as House of Wax, which established Price as a
really, but that was originally Atwill's.
That was Atwill's.
Right.
And his career crashed and burned in the 40s because of a sex scandal.
Oh no.
That
he was involved in?
He was involved in. He threw a wild party at his home in Hollywood. And like a lot of people in the business who had their own movie theaters at home and projection equipment, they like to show their friends stag movies, as they were called then. Porno.
Right.
And apparently people were there watching them in the all together. And there were some reports of sexual assault. And he got into trouble not so much for that, but he wouldn't snitch on the people who had attended.
Oh, wow.
And as a result, he didn't go to jail, but he got, I think, 5 years probation.
Good Lord.
And his career was kind of in the ashes after that.
Well,
although he still would show up in the 40s in various films, some of them for Universal, but a really wonderful performer, and everybody else was watching these movies too. Right. And having wild parties and orgies. And
he just got caught.
He got caught.
He got caught,
and,
sadly.
But Hollywood's always been like that.
Right. What do you say we get back to the film?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get back to the Vampire Bat. When we come back, we're going to hear some more interesting facts about this film from Mr. David Skal. So don't you dare go away. And we're going to do mail next. But then after we do mail, we'll be back with Mr. Skal. See you soon.
Is this what Dr. Haupt prescribed?
Yes, sir. She takes it in water.
Well, continue giving it to her.
Yes, sir.
It's stifling in here. Open these windows. Yes, sir.
Herman, open windows. Me do.
Well, she'll sleep well now, poor soul. It won't be necessary for you to stay here. A good night's sleep will work wonders for her.
It was kind of you to come, Doctor.
Oh. Martha has sold me apples for many years. Always a good, ripe, juicy one.
Martha, give me apples. I like.
Oh, Sophie. Oh, good.
She wants a cross.
Herman, get. Here. Now, there. For Martha. There. Oh.
She won't let it out of her sight.
A terrible experience. To be attacked by a giant bat is enough to shatter anyone's nerves.
She talks about it all the time. How it flew in her face and tried to sink its teeth in her throat.
No. Bats no do. They soft, like cat. They not bite Herman.
Be quiet, Herman. See what you've done.
There, Martha, there. She'll be all right. If she isn't, let me know.
Thank you for coming, Doctor.
That's all right. Good night.
Good night. Run along, Herman. You can see Martha tomorrow.
Oh.
Dr. von Niemann.
Ah, Krington, how are you?
Much better, thank you kindly, sir, since you prescribed for me.
That's right.
Go to bed, Herman. Go to bed. You shouldn't be prowling around the streets. It's dangerous.
Oh.
I'm afraid.
Afraid? Afraid of what, Krington?
The bats, sir. Big giant bats with wings like an eagle's.
You saw this bat, you say?
I saw it swooping down the street. It came directly for my throat, sir.
When was this, Kringle?
Last night when they came to take Von Eltz. It was a big monstrous thing. I saw it leap across the alley and into a window. I ran just as fast as my legs could carry me.
You said nothing about this?
There's enough fear in the village already. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. I will. I'll tell the Burgermeister.
Yes, Kringle. That's the thing to do.
No. Bats good. They not hurt Herman.
He plays with them.
You no tell.
No. No. Go to bed, Herman. Go on. Go to bed.
You say he plays with bats?
His garret is filled with them. He makes pets of them.
That's odd. Very odd.
Maybe he's it. Herman prowls around the streets all hours of the night, just like an animal. Maybe he's the vampire.
Now, don't start any gossip of that, Kringle. Heaven only knows where it might end. Good night.
Good night, sir.
There. Now. Soft. Nice. There.
See? What did I tell you?
Perhaps there's something in what Kringle says.
Seems strange that a human being should want to play with bats.
He isn't human, I tell you. He's in league with the devil.
Put it on. Put it on. There.
Thanks.
Now go to sleep. You'll be all right in a few days. The doctor says so.
Close the window. Close the window. I'm afraid. The vampire.
Well, he said leave them open, but I'd have them closed. You want the light?
Leave the light. I'm afraid.
Well, I can't blame you for that either. I'll turn it down a little. Good night. If you want me, just pound on the floor. I'll hear you.
All right. Good night.
Good night, Martha.
Oh.
Portions of this program are brought to you by Micromat, making products that keep your Macintosh running at its best.
Welcome back to the show. We are going to do some mail because we got mail, actually.
We have actually gotten mail.
Yeah, we've received mail, and if we receive mail, it is our obligation by law, according to the Supreme Court, that we should read all mail.
I beg your pardon?
No, it's a new law they just came up with. No, it's a new law I just came up with, but it's the same.
You watch way too much television.
Right. No, well, David stepped away because I think he's going to go get a copy of his book. He's going to sign it. And it's going to say, "Dear Mr. Livingston, read this book so you are not such a skeptic of horror films." Yeah? All right. How about some mail, Mr. Livingston?
Speaking of book, there's
book?
one from West Yorkshire,
Oh,
Britain.
he's from Britain. Look at this. Wow. Customs declaration. He declared it had a value of £10.
That's a lot.
10 quid for this book. All right. Oh, this looks interesting. Let's read the letter first. And why don't you look at this before I look at it? That way I can see what's going on here. All right, this is from Graham Jenkinson in Dewsbury, West Yorkshire. You know, we don't have anybody named Graham here. That's a purely English name. You never see anybody here in this country named Graham.
I believe it's Scottish, but...
Is it Scottish?
Graham.
There's lots of Grahams in England. Yeah,
Perhaps.
we need more Grahams here. And we need somebody to open a cracker company named Graham.
I think it's been done.
No, it's not a trademark. That's the thing. It needs to be a trademark. Graham's Crackers. Graham's Crackers. All right, he goes, greetings from the UK, and I hope that you're all well. Vincent, Tangel, and Livingston are here with us every night via YouTube. Thank you so much for your show, Creature Features. Great movies, great guests, and great memories. I'm sending you my latest book of short stories and poems, all horror-based. I hope you enjoy the book, and I would love your opinion on what you find within. Would it be possible to have an autographed photograph of you all to add to my horror collection? I think we might be able to pull that off, sir. Best wishes to you all, Graham and Angie. Keep up the good work. The show is brilliant. Regards, Graham. Well, thank you so much, Graham. Show me the book. What is it? Is it good? A good book. Vampire Journal. Audie, String Guy. Oh, I'll put up a big picture. But, oh, look at this. This is wonderful. This is easy reading. This is the kind of book I can read. You know, when it's got the dense text. No, it makes me tired. It makes me go to sleep. I never finish a book like that, but this one I could finish. This is wonderful. Thank you so much for sending it. Next up, Mr. Livingston.
We have an email with a photograph.
Oh, I like emails with photographs. It appears to be
2 photographs.
2 photographs. All right. This is from Jack. It's Jack.
Jack.
Jack. We showed a film recently about Jack the Ripper. Not the same bloke, I hope. All right, hello from Livermore, home of world-class wineries and birthplace of the H-bomb. Really? We know Livermore.
Livermore Labs.
Livermore Labs. No, but we drive by Livermore when we go to Los Angeles.
Yes.
To get to Highway 5. Livermore is right by Highway 5. So here goes, my wife and I have been Creature Feature fans since early in the Bob Wilkins era and love your continuance of the show. My wife, Lenny, is turning 65 next month, and I've already bought for her Tom's new film as a birthday present. That would be Tom, our director's. I wonder which film she bought. It must have been the Creature Feature one, right? Right. When I noticed that her actual birthday, September 10th, was on one of your broadcast days, I thought I'd better write and ask if you could send her a happy birthday during the letters section of that show. Well, obviously, we're too late for that. However, happy birthday. Happy belated birthday. And, you know, for those of you sending us birthday requests like this, you have to send them like a long time ahead of time, right?
4 weeks at least.
4 weeks at least. Well, no, but we've got to go through all the mail. Sometimes we get a big stack of mail. It's so big that it's taller than Tangela.
2 months at least.
2 months. No, a year.
A year would be good.
No, a year might be too much. All right. 2 months and 7 days, maybe. By the way, I loved your playing Mars under the opening of last night's show. But to clear up one common misconception, John Williams did not rip off Gustav Holst in the Star Wars score. In an old interview, he said that Lucas originally wanted to use the planets in the movie, with Williams providing incidental music. Williams suggested that he could write a score in the Holst style that would be much better integrated. Fortunately, Lucas agreed, and I agree as well. And he includes some photos. Look at this. He's a mad scientist. We're going to put some big ones up here, but he is a genuine. This is the way mad scientists should dress, not the way. No. The blokes at Livermore Lab do not dress like this.
Thank goodness.
No, it's not. Thank goodness. They have no class or style, whereas Jack does. Thanks for writing, Jack, and happy birthday, Leslie. What's Leslie, right?
Andrew in New Zealand.
Andrew in New Zealand. Just want to say, keep up the good. I wait all week for the new show to be posted. My wife always knows when I'm watching your show when she hears the music. Again, thank you, Andrew in New Zealand. Oh, he works for this company. It's called Sportino. It's got this neat logo. Do you see this?
Running Man.
It's a little bloke kicking a soccer ball, I think. Yeah, somebody gave me a rash of trouble the other day because I called the sport soccer.
Heaven forfend.
Well, it's not football.
It is football.
No, it's called football over there, but the original name of the game is soccer. The Americans say it correctly and the Europeans do not. I learned this from Wikipedia.
That is the last letter.
That's it?
Thank goodness.
All right. If you'd like to send a letter of your own by email, send it to the address right here. But make sure you include where you're from, because we like making fun of
It would be good
your
to
city.
know.
It's good to know. That's why. And if you'd like to send something in the post, like a wonderful book that you or possibly wrote or you possibly did not write, send it to the address you see right here. We'll be back soon with Mr. David Skal, but first let's get back to the Vampire Bat.
Herr Brett Schneider is here to see you, sir. He's in the laboratory with Miss Burton.
Oh, thank you. Ah, here you are.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Ruth. How are you, Carl? Well, I'd feel a lot better if I could find a solution to these murders. You don't believe in this vampire theory, then? Of course not. Do you? There are many strange happenings, my boy. Many mysteries beyond the power of the human mind to comprehend. Have you a theory which might explain these deaths? Well, I'll be pleased to discuss it with you, but not now, not now. I have some very important work to do. Well, tomorrow, then? Tomorrow? Yes, perhaps. We'll see. Oh, this isn't so important, Miss Betty, that you can't let it go till tomorrow?
All right, thank you, Doctor. Oh, how about Martha?
Huh? Oh, nothing serious. Just a case of nerves, that's all. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Doctor. Good night, Carl.
Name.
Martha Muller.
Age.
I don't know.
Cause of death.
Like all the rest.
The vampire.
Yes, that's so.
When I said I was going to tell you, his eyes glowed up like coals of fire. His hand reached out towards me, as if he were going to sink it into my throat.
And weigh this well. He never works and never begs, and yet he appears well-fed always.
That's so, he does.
Well, what does he live on, then? I'll wager it's as Kringen says.
And my woman was in Martha's room tonight when Herman put a flower in her hand.
Strange business, if you ask me. Mighty strange.
I hate to be in your shoes, Kringen.
Yes, after what happened tonight, I'd lock myself in my room and pray God to protect me from the devil.
Good evening, Herr Doctor. Good evening.
Dr. von Eman. Doctor.
Vampire.
Well, what do you make of it, Doctor?
Are these two wounds similar to those found on the other bodies?
Dr. Hopp can answer that for you, sir.
Yes, they were the same in every case.
This is a strange condition, Carl. So strange that I doubt the evidence of my eyes. What was your conclusion, Haupt?
I diagnosed the wounds as having been made by needle-sharp teeth. Punctures are clean cut, penetrating into, but not beyond, the jugular vein.
Do you mean to say that you also believe they could have been made by teeth?
Frankly, I do.
Ah, you see, Brett Schneider?
What kind of teeth, Doctor?
An animal of some sort. It's hard to say. The fangs of a wolf, perhaps.
A werewolf.
Could they have been made by, well, a bat, for instance?
A certain species, yes. There are vampire bats. Dr. William Jamison, who explored many of the tributaries of the upper Amazon, states that blood-sucking bats do exist. He further asserts that the victims often become blood drinkers themselves, citing a case in which he saw a native tortured to death on an anthill by his tribe brothers. They swore he had become a human bat, and, states Jamison, he confessed it.
Do you mean to say that such a thing as a human vampire is possible?
Who can say? Historic records would have us believe that an evil soul, assuming there is such, can take any shape it pleases.
So why not into that of a human being? Eh, Carl? Why not?
Have you any literature on the subject, Doctor?
Yes, I have many interesting volumes on my shelf that might prove very enlightening. I'll be glad to show them to you.
I don't mind admitting that I'm up a tree. Stumped.
Well, we'll see what can be done, my boy.
No, Herman. This is no place for you. Go away, my boy. Go away.
Good night, Sean.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night, Haupt.
Good night, Doctor.
In the morning, Carl.
Thank you, Doctor. I'm sorry to have dragged you out at such an ungodly hour.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
A child fleeing in horror from the sight of death.
There goes the vampire. Arrest him. Lock him up. Kill him.
Has the entire village gone mad? Herman wouldn't harm a baby, and you know it.
I've walked the streets of this village for over 40 years, but tonight's the end. He knows that I've told he plays with bats. He knows that I saw him sneak into Martha's house just before midnight.
Perhaps he was taking her another flower, Kringan. The boy brought her one this evening while I was there.
He killed her just like he did all the rest. And now he's going to kill me. Unless he's killed in a stake driven through his heart, I'm a doomed man. He'll kill me. He'll kill me. I'm doomed. He'll kill me. He'll kill me. I'm a doomed man. He'll kill me.
This portion of Creature Features is brought to you by CreatureFeatureStore.com, the official merchandiser of Creature Feature accessories.
David Skal, famous historian of horror. Do you ever color your hair?
Should I?
No. Well, no, it looks lovely, but have you ever done it?
No, I haven't.
I'm thinking
You
of
have, though,
stopping.
haven't you?
No, I think my hair is almost as gray as yours.
Oh.
It is. No, maybe. I don't know. I was covered with paint. But that's neither here nor there. The Vampire Bat. Fun film. You know a lot about this film.
I've hadn't watched it in years until you asked me to come on. I've watched it several times recently, and there are so many connections to Universal.
Give me 15.
15. Well, I just start. The Melvin Douglas, who appears in this film, he is the second male lead after Atwill,
right?
Whose love interest is Fay Wray. He was one of the stars of The Old Dark House. And if you watch The Old Dark House, you can see him walking up and down some of the same staircases.
Now, we recently showed the 1963 version of that film.
Which has nothing to do with the...
not related at all. So it's not considered a remake, just the same name?
It's, yeah, basically.
Right.
I think they may have acquired the rights to the the original novel, but didn't do much with it.
Right.
But but all kinds of people pop up. The Lionel Belmore, who plays the Burgermeister in this film. Sometimes he's a Burgermeister, sometimes he's a Burgomaster.
Yeah, what is a Burgermeister? Is that a mayor?
Yeah, basically. And but he did that for Universal all the time. He was the Burgomaster in Frankenstein for Universal, and he was another British actor. He worked with the great Victorian actor Henry Irving, who so he knew Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula.
The Bram Stoker.
Bram Stoker was Henry Irving's right-hand man and would have signed Lionel Belmore's paychecks.
My goodness.
And his sister, Daisy Belmore, was another British actress who appears in Dracula as one of the passengers in the coach at the very beginning of the film.
Wow.
And I'm sure I haven't done it, but I bet you can go through these films looking for props and pieces of furniture and
of course.
And it's
How
really
many times have
fascinating.
we seen that same Jacob's Ladder?
That one I couldn't quite place it. It looks like one of the ones from Frankenstein, but I don't think it's from Frankenstein. Somebody will tell me I'm wrong, but it was all at their disposal at Universal, and the art director for the Vampire Bat was Danny Hall, who created all of those wonderful sets for Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein.
Those are incredible.
And I mean, he really created the whole look of the Universal films, and it was probably his idea to bring out that the candlestick that Lugosi used.
Right.
And as the film goes on, you can see Dwight Fry borrowing from his portrayal of Renfield. He does that laugh, which Dwight Fry Jr. told me that when he'd go out to a restaurant and use his American Express card, waiters would come back to him and hand it and say,
No.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Well, it's a compliment.
It is wonderful.
There are many moments that come straight out of Dracula. Fry, he was a very good actor. He was a very versatile stage actor. He did a lot of comedy, which Hollywood didn't give him the chance to do. I mean, he became rapidly typecast as the monster sidekick, the Hunchback laboratory assistant.
Igor.
He didn't play Igor, but he played Fritz, the little hunchback in Frankenstein, who helped the doctor, and never got away from that sort of thing. And he played the Peter Lorre part in the very first version of the Maltese Falcon, and but it was bizarro kind of parts that got him, and his career just didn't take off. And he died prematurely in 1944, I think it was. He was a devout Christian Scientist and had concealed a heart condition from his family and refused to, employ conventional medicine. And he took his son to a movie matinee in Los Angeles one Saturday, and on the bus on the way back died of a heart attack.
That's depressing.
It was very depressing, and he could have done so much. And it's a shame we don't have a real, recorded record of all the things he did on the stage in New York. But he appeared with all the big stars. He didn't do leads, but he appeared on stage with Frederick March and with Bela Lugosi, not in Dracula, but in other stage plays. And he is a favorite, and I think it is that laugh, that maniacal laugh in Dracula, and nobody has done it better, and that's why
it's his trademark now.
That's what in Dracula Dead and Loving It, Peter MacNicol does the most incredible imitation of Dwight Fry through the whole movie. in the Renfield part.
Right.
But it's more than an homage. I mean, he just channels him completely. But
fun.
it's the part that everybody wanted. They wanted Universal wanted Lou Ayres to play Renfield in Dracula. Of course, he went on to be Dr. Kildare and that. And excuse me. They wanted him to play John Harker, the ineffectual leading man. And he said, "No, I want to play Renfield. That's the part to do." And of course, it's the plummiest part.
Right.
He doesn't quite upstage Lugosi, but he walks away with a lot of the film.
Right.
And of course, his is the only real story going on. He has the most to gain and the most to lose. Will he get eternal life? Will Dracula ever appreciate him? And it doesn't go well for him. But he's got the real dramatic arc in Dracula. And here he has another tragic arc, and he is not permitted to, it's not a spoiler, I don't think anybody watching is expecting him to make it to the end of the film. But great actor. And I was, when I was doing my first book, Hollywood Gothic, his son was also living in New York, working in the theater still, and came down to my office and just brought a bunch of his father's original scrapbooks. And it was just amazing to, it was like getting into a time capsule.
Right.
And there was
That's nice that stuff's still saved.
It's
in existence.
It's great. So I've over the course of my career, I haven't collected originals, but boy, I've photographed a lot of scrapbooks and things like that. There's a record of them. They're just
need to keep them digitally in case there's a fire. Let's say we get back to this film, and when we come back, we're going to find out about some of your books and some of the other things you've done as well, right?
We will.
All right, off we go, back to The Vampire Bat in 1933. Don't you dare go away. More fun stuff coming around the corner.
Good morning, Mr. Brett Schneider. What brings you to Klein Schloss so early?
You.
Fibber, I heard the doctor tell Georgiana he expected you.
I knew there was something else.
You're a delightful prevaricator, Carl, but not a very convincing one.
You don't mind me using your stethoscope, do you, Doctor?
Not at all, Frau Schnappen. But what seems to be the ailment this morning?
What's that? Oh.
What seems to be the ailment this morning?
Well, Doctor, I am positive that I have valvular leakage of the aorta. Or maybe it's the right ventricle. There is something wrong with my heart. I can hear it beat, thump, 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 just like the book says.
Well, if you didn't hear it beating thump, 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 just as the book says, I would say there is something wrong.
What? Without a moon?
You have a heart of stone.
All right, then. Close your eyes. No.
Oh, so, young lady.
It's too early in the morning, Carl. Much too early.
Oh, is it?
Oh, there's Aunt Gussie.
She would show up just at a time like this.
Well, Aunt Gussie, what's the matter now?
I have palpitation of the auricular, ventricular, and mitral valves with a cardiac tendency.
You mean your heart's beating?
Of course it's beating. Dr. Von Nealen, Try to assure me, but I know it's serious. I'm liable to go just like that.
Did he prescribe for you, dear?
Yes, monacid ester, salicylic acid.
You mean salicylic acid, don't you?
Yes, salicylic. It's helped me. My heart is much quieter. Hello, Carl.
Hello.
Oh, Carl, you'll be good to her when I'm gone, won't you?
Yes, of course I will, Frau Schnappmann.
Well, I'm not gone yet. You can't marry her unless I say so. Don't forget that. Oh, my heart.
There, Auntie, you'll be all right. Just rest a while. What you need is...
What?
Rest, dear. Quiet. And Gussie has a heart like a steam engine.
Come on. Don't you know it's wrong to steal? You've cut yourself.
See? Blood.
Yes. Stop it.
No hurt me. No hurt.
Oh, you poor thing. Now, you wait right here, and I'll run in the house and get something for that finger. A subcutaneous wound like that might easily result in a tetanus infection.
Tetanus.
Tetanus. Lockjaw. Not that you need be afraid. From the way you talk, I think you've got it already. Look, here's a nice, juicy apple for you.
Ah, this is it. Traits sur les apparitions des esprits et sur les vampires by Augustin Dom Calame in 1746. Let us suppose that these corpses do not actually stir from their tombs, but only the ghosts or spirits appear to the living. Wherefore do these phantoms present themselves, and what is it that energizes them? Is it actually the soul of the dead man which has not yet departed to its final destination?
Fiddlesticks. Now, how could a corpse buried under 4 or 5 feet of earth get out to do any such foolishness? I don't believe it.
It's a fair question, Doctor. How could it?
Well, according to accepted theory, the vampire dematerializes its body and reintegrates it outside the grave.
It's a good explanation, if you can believe it. And while I'm standing here listening to all this rubbish, there's a poor man in the garden in danger of a tetanus infection. Now, what should I do for him, Doctor? Shall I apply mercurochrome or 2% solution of bichloride?
Well, either will do. Get some gauze and some mercurochrome.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll wait here.
Difficult to believe, isn't it? It's impossible to believe. And yet, it would explain these deaths, wouldn't it?
Ah, Brett Schneider. Pardon our intrusion, Dr. von Niemann. But after what you saw last night, you'll be interested in this as well.
Well, what's happened?
Kringen was found dead an hour ago, with the 2 punctures in his neck and not a drop of blood in his body. And what's more, Hermann Gleib has disappeared.
What?
Now you're convinced that we were right and you were wrong?
That'd be proof enough for anybody. Kringen said Herman would get him, and he did.
Well, Brett Schneider?
I appoint you my deputy. Organize a searching party and comb this countryside from one end to the other. Find Herman Gleib and bring him in, but don't harm him. Do you understand?
What good will that do? He's the vampire. There's only one thing for us to do when we find him. Kill him and drive a stake through his
Herman
heart.
Gleib will be tried by a court of law. charge against him is proven true, the law will decide what to do with him, not you. Now get your men together and do as I tell you.
That's the way to talk.
I'm going into town for a little while, Doctor. Would you care to come along?
Oh, I hardly believe so. There's little to be done until they find the boy. If you need me then,
All right, thanks. I'll let you know.
I feel as though I was going to faint.
Oh, there, Auntie. There's nothing here to be afraid of. Here comes Emil with your mercurochrome and bandages. Run along now and take care of that patient of yours.
Oh, heavens, I forgot all about him. Oh. Oh, my heart. Oh.
Poor Auntie. She's had every ailment in the book.
And a lot that aren't, I'm afraid.
Particularly a palpitation of the auriculoventricular, tricuspid, and mitral valves, Doctor.
Well, I had to tell her something to satisfy her.
This is Brian Borden from Michigan. I just wanted to say hi to Tangela, Vincent, and Mr. Livingston. I love your show. I found you in February of 2020, and you guys helped me through some very trying times. I'd like to request The Legend of Lizzie Borden, since I am her great nephew. I'd love to see that movie with Elizabeth Montgomery. Bye.
This is Livingston, and you're watching Creature Features. Not now. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, I don't know what to say. I mean, they've missed most of the movie. They've missed most of the interview. I think they should just watch Saturday Night Live. Or what's left of that, you're too late for that as well. So who knows? Anyways, we are with Mr. David Skal. He knows everything about this film and many more. And you've got 2 books we're going to talk about, right?
2 books, especially this year. I've been doing this now for... some of my books are approaching their 30th anniversaries.
My goodness.
And they've stayed in print, and I've been able to revise them, which is good because you spend a lot of time working on these things, and then the book is published, and then somebody contacts you with, oh, I loved your book, and
by the way,
here's something you didn't know about. And so I've been able to constantly expand and revise and clarify and sometimes just fix dumb mistakes that only I know about. But 2 of my books, Hollywood Gothic, The Tangled Web of Dracula, From Novel to Stage to Screen, was my first nonfiction book in this new stage of my life that started in 1990. Is finally an audiobook that I have performed. I've done audio commentaries, and I've narrated some documentaries, and people seem to like to listen to me, and people have been telling me for a long time, why don't you do an audiobook?
Right.
Well, finally an audiobook publisher asked me, and so that was done simultaneously with Dark Carnival, The Secret World of Todd Browning, the man who directed the movie of Dracula, but also Freaks, one of the great scandalous films of the 1930s.
Wonderful film.
So both these books deal with a lot of Dracula, and it was a fascinating experience because it's a lot more time-consuming than you would think.
Right.
I mean, basically for each book I spent about 20 hours total recording them for less than 10 hours of finished material.
Right, because you have to do retakes.
You do retakes, and you cough and you flub.
Right.
And it's never smooth.
Now, did you do this in a studio or just at home?
In a state-of-the-art studio.
Right.
And I'm glad, because I really I really appreciated the technical help I got.
Right.
And then they go through it with computers, and they stabilize and standardize the amount of space between words and the amount of space between sentences. But the first day was kind of rough, because I've done a lot of public speaking, and I've had some theater training, and your first instinct is you want to project. But with an audiobook, you don't.
Yeah.
It's very intimate. You want to be quiet.
Right.
You want to hardly do anything.
Right.
And so I think it got better and better as the 2 weeks went on.
Interesting.
And but they're out for the Halloween season, and they are right now. They're available for pre-order on Amazon and
do you have a
Audible.
website that we could go to?
And my website, monstershow.net.
Monstershow.net.
And there will be a CD version. There will be streaming versions.
Oh, wonderful.
And I hope people will enjoy them.
Well, they'll go visit the site, and they have all the links there to Amazon and all that. Right?
Absolutely.
Right. Good. There you go. Well, let's say we get back to the film, eh? All right. Off we go. Back to the Vampire Bat. Don't you dare go away. See you soon.
Here, you mustn't do that. Now, where's that finger?
You good like Martha. She give me apples. Herman like you.
Are you Herman?
Me, Herman. You give me apple? Herman give you nice soft bat.
What is it, Georgiana?
I just found this in Emil's room.
Well,
It belonged to my friend, Martha Mueller.
are you certain?
I gave it to her myself. Martha died last night. I find her crucifix in Emil's room. Doesn't that mean Emil is the one Herr Brettschneider is seeking?
This amazes me, Georgiana. It isn't possible.
It rained the night Von Elst died. There was mud on Emil's shoes the next morning.
Have you mentioned this to anyone?
I intend to tell Herr Brettschneider when he calls again.
Can't believe it. Leave this with me. I want to talk to Emil before you say anything to anyone.
The Burgermeister should know at once.
Yes, all in good time. Emil has been with me too long for us to jump at conclusions. Don't say anything until I tell you, and send Emil to me.
Very well, Doctor.
That's for the neuritis. And the pepsin, that Hassenpfeffer was tougher than shoe leather. And sweet spirits of nitre, that'll help, at least won't do any harm. And ginger, that'll warm my stomach. And now, a little pipe out of soda.
To the village with us. Come on. We won't hurt you.
No, won't go. Herman afraid.
Come on. You're going with us, Herman.
No.
You're going with us.
No.
Come on.
No.
Come on. Get him. Come on, Herman. We won't hurt you. Come on.
No.
Come, that settles him.
Yes, let's go. We got him down below.
We've got to make certain.
I won't go down there.
Nobody asked you to. I'll go myself.
Can you see him?
He's on a ledge about 50 feet down. I'll get a rope.
Hello, this is Mr. Livingston. It would appear I have been tasked with requesting you to help our show financially by visiting our Patreon page. Your generosity will help us keep Creature Features on the air. With only a few dollars a month from you, your kindness will allow us to continue creating new entertainment for your viewing pleasure each and every week. And if you have the desire to give more, you might even receive a gift from Tangela. I think not. Please visit the website below to learn more. Thank you.
Special delivery from Miss Tangela.
Ooh,
You must be careful, Emil. Very careful. No. It must be, it must be. She's no better than the rest. I've got to go on.
Oh, it's you, Doctor. Good evening. I'm sorry to have to disturb you, Doctor, but we think they couldn't make Georgiana hear the bell.
That's quite all right, my dear. Georgiana's becoming careless. Very careless.
Yes, I've noticed that, too. In my opinion, she has nagana. That's sleeping sickness. You know the symptoms, Doctor. At first, I thought it was creeping paralysis, so I stuck a pin in her leg to see, and there was a splendid reaction of the reflex motor nerve.
Why, Auntie.
You're shocked. So is she.
Won't you join me in some coffee? Yes, thanks, Doctor. We will. There are a few questions I'd like to ask you, Paul.
About blood and murders and vampires, I suppose.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Well, so am I. Well, good night. If such a thing is possible, I'm going to bed.
Won't you join us too, Frau Schnappmann?
Coffee at this hour of the night? No, thank you. I'm going to stick to my monacid ester salicylic salad. Acid, Doctor, acid. Good night.
What's the news in the village, Carl? Have they located Herman yet?
No, not a trace of him. I hate to think of that poor misfit being hunted down like a dog. Do you know, I simply can't bring myself to believe in that vampire theory.
Will you pour, Ruth?
Certainly.
I know, Carl. Our saner, calmer judgment tells us that such things can't be, and yet, here, for instance, in this ponderous tome, are cited 1,001 phobias and complexes that human beings are heir to. Some of them are strange, more untenable even than werewolves and vampires. Could I have some more, please?
You drink entirely too much coffee.
Well, it's my one weakness. And also my excuse for tolerating Georgiana's laxity and other things. She does know how to make good coffee. Thank you. She brings it to me every night at exactly 10 o'clock. And when I've drunk it all, then I know it's time to quit.
Yes, and eat breakfast so you can have more coffee.
Oh.
Georgiana, you mustn't lie like that. You'll get yourself a tart of coolers. No, stiff neck. Georgiana.
That was Auntie. Auntie.
Oh, no, I'm all right. I'm all right now. Oh, it's just
David, help Frau snap into her room.
I'm silly imagination. I meant to not, Georgia.
The same 2 wounds, Doctor.
And my last words to her were angry ones. A petulant reprimand for being late with my coffee.
What time is that?
About 2 or 3 minutes after 10.
She's been dead then about 45 minutes. Bloodless like the rest. It passes all belief. Ruth's aunt saw Herman Gleib in the garden this morning. Could it be that he... You were the first one here. What happened?
I was in my room reading. My door was open. I must have dozed off for a minute or so because I awoke to hear Frau Schnappmann scream.
You say your door was open?
Yes, my room was very poorly ventilated.
And you saw nothing? Heard nothing unusual?
Nothing.
Carl.
What is it?
This crucifix belonged to Martha. See who it is, Emil.
Can you positively identify this as belonging to Martha?
Without a doubt. I saw it in her room the night she died.
How in the world did it get here?
Herman Gleib was in her room. He had that crucifix in his hands. And Herman was here today.
Maybe here now, for all we know.
This is Livingston, and you're watching Creature Features. Not now. Stay tuned. This portion of Creature Features is brought to you by CreatureFeatureStore.com, the official merchandiser of Creature Feature accessories.
Bats, bats, bats. There's bats all over the place in this film. You know, you think somebody would come out with a big can of spray Raid and just shoot them all down?
You would think, but
one would think.
It's a horror movie. People don't do the logical thing.
The movie would end too quickly. Yes,
that's right.
That's right. I keep forgetting these things. In any case, let's not talk about this film anymore. I want to talk about Nosferatu because it's a big deal.
It's a big deal this year because it is the 100th anniversary of Nosferatu.
100 years.
The very first Dracula film. And it has a lot to do with my book, Hollywood Gothic, because I discovered in my research that Florence Stoker, the widow of Bram Stoker, found out about Nosferatu and that it was supposedly a freely adapted version of Dracula to which she owned the rights.
Right.
And it was a total plagiarism. It was a total ripoff, and they were brazen about selling it in Germany and around the world. And she took them to court for years, this obsessive legal battle to the death. And it was such a juicy story. And I found all the correspondence in England at the British Library. Nobody had taken a look at it or quoted it before. And it was just like a novel. And she was a character, and everybody around her was a character. And so the book was all about all the people who tried to control Dracula, make money from Dracula, and usually ruin their own lives in the process. And but Nosferatu is a great example of German expressionism. Dracula in the film is not at all like Bela Lugosi. He is not suave. He is not seductive.
Right.
He is a rat-like creature with insect-like fingers. And
what was the actor who played
Max Schreck.
Max
Schreck.
Schreck.
That was his real name, and it actually means terror in German.
Wow.
And fortunately, even though Florence Stoker got the courts to order all prints and the negative destroyed, it escaped to various corners of the world. And it was only in relatively recent years that we've seen the film as it was originally intended. And this is the 100th anniversary of the film.
Years.
And in just another 8.5 years, Dracula and Frankenstein are going to have their 100th anniversary. And
my goodness.
I can't promise I'll be around, but that'll be worth looking forward to. But
nor can I promise that we'll ever be able to show those films, even century-old cinema. No, those the Universal.
well, unless
won't let anybody
they
show
might
it.
go into the public domain.
They will or they won't.
If Congress pulls, a Disney and extends the copyright, then maybe not. But they are coming up to the end of their what was supposed to be the end of their copyright.
Right. Something will happen. Something will get switched. Somebody will be elected, and it won't happen. All right. Well, what do you say we finish up this film?
Let's do it.
And then when we come back, we'll talk about what you're doing next. Okay. All right. Off we go to the end of the Vampire Bat. Don't you dare go away, because Tangela's going to be here. And if she knows that you've left, she's going to send you a gift in the mail, and you won't like it.
Who is it? Oh,
How is she?
she's had a real shock this time, but she'll be all right. I'm putting her to bed.
Leave her there. Don't let her out of this room. And don't you leave it either.
Why, what do you mean?
It looks as if Herman Gleib is the killer after all. It's possible he may be hiding here in the castle.
Why, what makes you think so?
I'll tell you later. Stay in your room and keep your door locked.
Don't worry about that.
I heard every word he said, and I don't think there's any use of them searching for Herman. They should look for a dog, a human-faced dog.
Andy, the doors and the windows are all locked. There's nothing to be afraid of now.
Who said I was afraid? I'm not a bit afraid.
No, of course you're not afraid, but you must get some rest.
Rest in this awful place? With dog-faced Hermans and human-faced bats and blood and murders and vampires.
Find anything, Carl?
There's an unbroken cobweb in that window. If Herman did it, he came through the door.
He must have. And yet I don't understand how he could find his way up here without us hearing him. Yet Emil was asleep, and I was in the library. Yes, he could have done it. The facts all point to it. What was it, Emil?
The Burgermeister. He has news for Herr Brettschneider about Herman.
Oh.
Pardon the intrusion, Doctor. Pardon the intrusion. I knew Carl was here, and I thought you wouldn't mind if I ran in to tell him the news.
About Herman?
Yes. He fell into the devil's well in the cave.
He's dead?
Dead as a doornail. This ends our troubles, Carl. The vampire's dead. I can feel it in my bones.
Well, your bones may be wrong. What time did this happen?
Quite early, about 9 o'clock. The cave is nearly 2 hours from here. That's why we didn't hear it sooner.
Well, it may interest you to know that there's been another death after your vampire died.
Who?
Dr. von Niemann's housekeeper. Right here in her own room.
Mother of mercy. What are we going to do?
But a natural death wouldn't kill a vampire, Carl. You know the accepted theory. A stake driven through the heart. Oh, yes, that's the theory, all right.
But...
What?
But they did. They drove a stake through his heart.
Good God, are we living in the Middle Ages?
It wasn't through my sanction, Carl. Basawa did it. He told me so himself.
Well, that ends the vampire theory as far as I'm concerned. Herman Gleib died in the accepted fashion for killing a vampire. Oh, no, there's some human agency at work here, Doctor. A madman who kills to satisfy some violent, sadistic urge.
Yes, you're right, Carl. I've been a fool, a superstitious fool.
Did they leave his body in the cave?
Yes. Yes, they did.
Well, in view of what's happened, don't you think you owe him a decent burial?
You're right. In view of what has happened, we do owe him that, Carl. I'll see to it at once, this very instant. And I'll make arrangements for Georgiana's removal to the morgue. Good night, Doctor. Pardon the intrusion.
Good night, Gustav.
Pardon the intrusion.
Well, here I am, just where I started weeks ago. There isn't a single theory that doesn't lead straight into a stone wall. I've jested about this vampire business because my better judgment told me it was a lot of nonsense. Then I reached the point where I was willing to accept even that, because it seemed to satisfy the equation. All of us have been superstitious. I don't know which way to turn, where to look, what to look for. Why should anyone want human blood? Why? Calm yourself, Carl. Calm myself? With all these unsolved murders staring me in the face and no solution in sight? How much blood is there in the human body, Doctor? About 6 liters, approximately. Can you think of any purpose for which that amount of blood might be used? No. Not even in transfusions. That's the point which stops me. There isn't any other use for human blood. Murderers leave clues. And these atrocities are murders, Doctor. Those simple fools in the village can believe what they like, but you and I are sane, thinking people. And you know and I know, Doctor, that these are murders. The last one was done here. In this very house, right under this roof. All right, I'll start here. I'm going over every foot of this place, both inside and out. Nobody, sane or insane, is clever enough to get away with murder without leaving a clue of some sort. And I'm going to find that clue.
Now, come, Carl. You mustn't let your nerves run away with you. Here. These will help to give you a good night's sleep. If there are any clues, they'll be here in the morning when your nerves are calm and your mind is clear. Take my advice and go home and rest.
I imagined 1,000 demons were after me as I came down those stairs.
Ruth, didn't I tell you to stay in your room?
Yes, but I wanted the doctor to come up and quiet Auntie. You know, it isn't her imagination this time.
Of course, Ruth, I'll come right away. Take my advice, young man. Go home and go to bed.
Good night, Carl.
Good night, Ruth.
Good night, Carl.
Good night, Doctor.
his lights are on, you must wait, Emil. Wait until he has gone to bed.
This brief moment of tranquility has been brought to you by Nightscape. Relax and sleep better every single night with this and other videos from our free YouTube channel. Learn more by visiting nightscape.co today.
Handle him as you did the others, Emil. You are strong. Very strong. I am waiting for you. Waiting for you to bring him to the laboratory.
You're the one. What mad thing are you doing?
Mad? Is one who has solved the secret of life to be considered mad? Life, created in the laboratory. No mere crystalline growth, but tissue. Living, growing tissue. Life that moves, pulsates, and demands food for its continued growth. Huh. You shudder in horror. So did I the first time. But what are a few lives to be weighed in the balance against the achievement of biological science? Think of it. I have lifted the veil. I have created life. Wrested the secret of life from life. Now do you understand? From the lives of those who have gone before, I have created life.
I'll tell Carl.
You may. For tonight, Carl's name will be added to yours. And all of those whom this achievement will immortalize.
I didn't take your sleeping tablets, Doctor.
Emil brought them here. He's the one who murdered them.
Stay where you are. You'll have a chance to tell everything, Doctor.
I'll take care of von Niemann. Get her out of here.
You stay here. Von Niemann and Emil.
Doctor! Dr. von Niemann!
Oh, she mustn't see them.
Where is Dr. von Niemann? I must see him immediately.
Aunt Gussie, you can't. He can't be disturbed.
Oh, but I must see him. I simply must. And that hydrous magnesium sulfate he gave me is affecting me most peculiarly. You'll pardon me?
Hydrous magnesium sulfate. Well, that's Epsom salts.
And that brings the coffin lid down on the vampire bat. It was the doctor and his assistant.
Yeah.
You knew already. I forgot about this movie, and I completely forgot that was going to happen. What did you think of the film? You liked it? She always likes the black and white ones for some reason.
It has more of a nostalgia quotient than a lot of...
It does.
Because of its association with other better films.
No, it does. It has that whole motif going on.
It pulls you in.
It pulls us all in. It's like a Venturi or like a hurricane or a whirlpool or something silly like that. Anyways, what's up next for David Skal?
What's up next for me? Well, Nosferatu is still keeping me busy this year. I've been asked to introduce screenings all around the country
how fun.
and all around the world. In June, I went to Santiago, Chile for an amazing...
I've always wondered, is it actually chilly in Chile?
Chile. It's a Chile. No.
Is it chilly in Chile?
Well, it's summer, so it was winter there, and it was chilly.
It was chilly.
Yes.
Right.
But the people were wonderful.
The people were warm.
The people were warm and friendly, and they love movies. They love cinema. They take it seriously, and they had a week-long celebration of everything Nosferatu.
Oh my goodness!
And
we
I had a blast.
need to get on a Chilean TV station.
And I'm working on a new book now. Called I Hear America Screaming, the Politics of Horror.
The Politics of Horror.
And this is probably, I'm going to get death threats after this one.
Why?
But because it's about the politics of horror and politics. And
so the politics inside of horror films?
No, the politics of our real world take their lead from horror films. And horror motifs.
See. Oh, all right.
And it's all about telling scary stories.
Oh, all right. No, you're drawing parallels.
Oh, yes.
Is what you're doing.
There are two. I don't have to draw them. Just how many of them can I deal with?
No, politicians are scary people.
You bet.
No, I could see. Somebody should make a horror film that's all politicians.
I do it.
And then the citizens could be the zombies.
They always are.
Right. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, that sounds like fun. And then you're living in Glendale still.
I still live in Glendale.
You know, I used to bounce around
Near
Glendale
Forest
all the
Lawn.
time. Right.
Probably more dead movie stars there than anywhere in the world.
Oh, that's a great place. I love cemeteries. She loves cemeteries too, but when I bring her along, she brings a shovel.
Ah.
No, and immediately we get kicked out. There are cemeteries in this area that say Tangella is not allowed. No, it's a true story.
I kind of understand that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming up again, David. And next time you're in town, you come see us. And by then, you'll probably have 5 more books written.
Probably.
Right. And if you've got any movie suggestions for us, you do let us know, right?
I will.
All right. And as far as you guys go, thank you for staying up and watching the show. We know you could be sleeping or making cookies or making explosives like she does, but instead you decided to watch our show, and for that reason, we love you. We'll see you next week. Different movie, different guests, don't know who, don't know what, but it'll be fun. See you then. So, David, we're thinking of doing a little horror movie, and if we do this, I'm thinking maybe you could do the audio commentary.
Well, yeah, but I think I'd be left speechless.